When David, Seth, and Durga, otherwise known as the Hindu goddess, got together, they created one of the most minimalistic, chic, modern houses that I have discovered in perfumery. Today I want to talk about two of the most important fragrances from the house for me in my fragrance journey, Bowmakers and Amber Teutonic. Bowmakers was a fragrance that I discovered in 2015. The fragrance notes for me that stand out most are maple, walnut, pine, and mahogany. This is a fragrance that is supposed to represent sort of a varnish and a newly made violin and the bows that go along with the violin. This is a wonderful, wonderful addition to anyone's arsenal that wants to find something that has this very minimalistic and linear approach to a woody fragrance. When I first apply Bowmakers on my skin, I get sort of a screechy citrus, which is evocative of that varnish, and then it quickly kind of dissipates within 15 minutes or so and becomes a really nice mahogany fragrance. It's very outdoors smelling, it's very natural smelling, and that's sort of what DS and Durga likes to represent in their perfumery. They make fragrances that are evocative of the outdoors and mythological creatures and music, so I think that they really go for inspirational, airy type fragrances that smell very, very natural. The two sizes that I recommend most for Bowmakers are the 50 ml or the 100 ml, and they go for anywhere from $175 American to $260 American, and you can certainly pick up a sample pack at dsanddurga.com. Longevity on Bowmakers, I get about 8 hours, and it projects fairly well. It's also a fragrance that you basically smell the same from top to finish, which I mean that in a nice way. Bowmakers is a fragrance that I really enjoy. It was one of my first purchases from DS and Durga, and it's forever gonna have a very special place in my fragrance journey, and I'm always gonna have a bottle of this in my arsenal. So thank you so much for your creations, and we're gonna move on to the next fragrance. The next fragrance I'd like to talk about is so far my favorite fragrance from the house. I absolutely adore this fragrance. It really musters up quite a bit of nostalgia for me, and it reminds me of the old pine forest that I grew up with on my grandfather's land that I would go camping out for weeks at a time with my cousins, and it really, really captures that outdoors feel for me. The most prominent notes on my skin are cardamom, geranium, cedarwood, and opoponax, but really what this fragrance feels like to me on my skin is a very airy, almost pine forest with maple and maple syrup with some amber, and it's very smoky, natural, and resinous in like a pine sap sort of way. Amber Teutonic costs just as much as Bowmakers does in the 50 ml and 100 ml bottles, so you're gonna spend anywhere from $175 American to $260 American for this fragrance. Amber Teutonic for me is a quintessential fall fragrance that I think everyone should own, and I think that this is such a wonderful choice for anyone out there that loves that syrupy, sweet amber feel. This definitely has a very natural quality to it that feels like the vast open forest and you're in the outdoors and there's this crisp fall air. So if you're looking for a fragrance like that that can kind of come across as a more casual, friendly fragrance, then check this one out for sure. This is probably my favorite fragrance from the house, at least in the top 3. So for me, this is gonna be something that I'm gonna need to own for a long, long time to come, and I absolutely adore it. Amber Teutonic lasts anywhere from 8 to 10 hours on my skin. I usually apply 3 to 4 sprays, and that is enough for me. The performance for Amber Teutonic is wonderful, but more importantly, again, the nostalgic value, the story that it builds and creates in my head is just special for me, and I absolutely cannot express enough how excited I am to have a fragrance like this, and that there's a house like DS and Durga out there that creates their fragrances in such a way that they actually want to kind of provoke that storytelling. As always, I hope you are all well out there, and I will talk to you all very soon. I hope you all enjoyed this wonderful overview over two of my favorite fragrances from DS and Durga. Check them out at dsanddurga.com, and I will hopefully see you all soon. Bye-bye. For me, in particular, Bowmakers is one of the most interesting and more or less... I love it! I love having to do it all over again, Alex. I do. I love it.